All good.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next WASTELESS WORLD Talks are here with Will, Bill, Kevin, and myself to talk another word, to talk another term, which I woke up a few days ago with. And as I said, it will be quite interesting because the term today is invisible. And Bill, if you close your eyes and you hear the term invisible, what came to your mind first?
There's an old movie called The Invisible Man. That's what came to my mind first, but right behind it was um, many different meanings. Like some people complain or feel as though they are invisible to their friends. They know they're there, but they're invisible.
All right, so let's switch to Kevin. What is on your mind, Kevin?
Frustration. I remember as a kid, everything which was really interesting was invisible. That was Father Christmas, it was ghosts, it was aliens, it was everything you really wanted to see, to have proof of, were the things which were always going to remain invisible.
That's interesting because, we had a noon event as well. Unfortunately, I didn't hit the record button, so the recording is invisible, the noon recording at the end. But it was quite interesting because the people touch a lot of invisible things like emotions or the leadership or many other things, including, of course, the God and other topics, energy. And you are right. So there are many things which are not visible, but are very important. Energy, electric energy. You cannot see them. I all the time have to smile when they told me, you have to purchase the green power. And I ask them all the time, how do I recognize when I put a plug inside? I don't see whether it's black or brown or whatever. How should I recognize that? And nobody was able to answer this question.
There was an interesting article about the spectrum, the visible spectrum that that man can see, that people can see, is actually quite small as compared to the whole spectrum of light, which means that it's invisible to the human eye, but the dogs can see it, or the eagles can see it, or it's just that we are ignorant of what's happening beyond the spectrum that we can see. So just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not there.
I remember when I used to use a smartphone, I had this app called Star Walk, and you could, even if you're in a building, you could hold it up and it would show you what stars were currently wherever you were pointing the camera. If it was day or night, it made no difference, which was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. But then it had this feature where it had visible light, so you could see the universe the way we see it. Then it had this full spectrum from ultraviolet to infrared. And then once you start moving away from how we see the universe, it was completely different.
I do remember that usually there was a lot of we have many fairy tales in which invisible cloak or invisible hat which makes you invisible and so on. And I don't know if you noticed, there is quite a lot of investment currently in China especially to develop this technology again. Generally it exists already. It is just if you look at the you have a desk, you look when it is in this direction, you can see the person. If you turn it by 90 degrees, there is some light, whatever blocking, and you cannot see the person. And unfortunately, with these new AI tools and everything, which are generally invisible tools, they are made so great videos that you cannot recognize if they succeed or not, because they disappear. They take something, a clothes on, and they disappear. Harry Potter did the same. So you don't know. And it's quite interesting. But what is in fact interesting is this the technology, the AI, the new technology, let's call it so, because We are not speaking right now about computer or physical phone. We are speaking about AI. It's not visible. It is invisible tool and still influence so many.
It's like, yeah, most power, if it's wielded well, is invisible. That's the secret of having power, is not to be seen using it.
If you take COVID was the great example of invisible enemy. You cannot see it, but you have to protect against it. And it was great enemy, you know. You cannot. So it was so easy to say it is there in the room with you, because nobody can see it. There was a technology which very shortly show up, which helps to visualize some of the viruses. You have a glasses and something were there. It disappeared almost immediately. It was introduced and disappeared almost immediately. Because the guys who want to make money on this, they don't want us to see the enemy, of course. Very interesting. And I had yesterday very interesting discussion. You know, I have here one of the guests of my podcast, and he is religious, and we spoke about God and so on. And we came to a discussion. You know, I don't know how exactly to say it in English, but when the gods start to create the world and the human and so on, then he created according to his own personality or person. You know, and then he said, then he has to add the something for food and drink and whatever. And I said, okay, but let me ask you, if God was the one who created according to his person, why should people need to drink and eat and everything? Because God didn't need that. And it was quite interesting discussion, because at that moment he was not sure what to answer, you know, because he was giving me the sentences out of the Bible. And he is a clever guy. But it was quite interesting when you asked him.
I have to say, thinking about it, that I think God would get a lot more customers if he wasn't invisible.
That's nice. You know, he told me, the guy yesterday as well, one very interesting thing. You know the Archangel Michael. This is the guy with the sword. And do you know what the sword means? What is the meaning of a sword in a religion in general, in many religions? I didn't know. I was thinking it's a weapon because I hunt the evil. He said, no, it is a symbol, one of the symbols, and the symbol for truth.
Really?
This is why the statue of justice with the covered eyes and with the, how it's called, the scale in the hand, then usually in the second hand, not every time, but in many, in the other hand is sword. So it's truth. That's very interesting. Very interesting. I didn't know about it. But I have my sword, of course, I have it at home. Purchased from Hong Kong a long time ago.
But it's interesting demonstration of the power of the truth.
It will be interesting, Bill, if you can ask your grandchildren, invisible, what do you see? There will be so many things.
I will do that. I'm still back on the relationship between religion and truth. For example, I'm not sure truth exists anyplace. Truth, it's it's opinions, um, it's things that are handed down along with a club. You must believe this, or it's going to hurt. And so a lot of humanity accepts it. Okay, fine, I believe, without engaging this thing to say, now, does that make sense? Does that fit in with, you know, so, again, what is truth? Truth is a sword. Okay. Um,
Actually, Bill, it's a double-edged sword.
ah, well, of course it would be, so that the invisible truth can be deep and mysterious. So people can say, yes, but did you know? Oh, no, I didn't realize that. And then this thing that they're calling truth just entangles our brain, and we say, I don't want any more of this. I'm going to go watch the football game. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Every time someone uses the word truth, it just makes me recoil in oh geez, what am I going to have to listen to now? Right?
Do you know what is interesting? Then in Czech language, if there is a dispute, we say you have to cut it. And generally with a sword, you have to cut it. We don't say the term sword, but we use this to reveal the, the real thing or the truth or whatever. You have to cut it. And this is all Czech proverb. I don't know where it came from, but it came to my mind yesterday during the
Does that mean
discussion.
that you have to cut it and then look inside?
Probably, probably. Not sure, but probably.
But I think thanks to the internet and information technology, that truth is it's a consumable, and it's a buyer's market these days. We can choose exactly the truth we want to buy, which is probably more disadvantageous than an advantage to society. But it certainly helps us get by in every day, because we don't have to face the truth. We can simply log into the truth, which makes us more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking for the guy yesterday. He is very active on social media and LinkedIn and even the Wikipedia. And he told me how Wikipedia works. It's quite interesting. It's for another discussion, very long discussion. But he said, I asked about Industry 5.0. I asked, and there is something, I do not remember that right now. There is some AI tool online, which is very popular, something like AI Factory, or somehow like this it sounds. And he said, I asked what is the difference between Society 5.0 and Industry 5.0. And it was quite interesting because AI delivered your name, Michael. It delivered. It delivered even the correct date, but wrong content. It was very interesting, which means it takes one part of information from one source, but then combine it with the other source, which is completely irrelevant. So you said that you can choose the truth. I will say you can choose the lie, which you will believe to make the truth. Because the truth is, as we discussed it last time at the end, from my perspective, about Industry 5.0 is one, it's me, and all the others are lies, to make it very simple. But it was quite interesting how this AI factory works. And he said right now, it was provided for free by T-Mobile, which is here, to every user for 1 year time. You know, it's very dangerous thing if you think that you provide someone access for free on the mobile to something which should know every answer. What these people will do after this 1 year. They will pay. For sure they will pay.
Yeah, whether or not it knows every answer. I'm working with another group. We meet on Monday afternoons from around the world like this, and I'm learning. It's all about AI. It's called the AI conversation, um, and I was surprised at how many different large language models (LLMs) there are out there, and it's hundreds. And if you ask each model the same prompt, the same question, you get different answers. And in fact, if you ask a particular platform a question and then come back 60 seconds later and ask them the same question, you very likely will get a different answer. So any any claim that that what they give is truth, or in fact what they give is repeatable, so what good is it to use AI except maybe to expand your own range of possibilities? It's not giving you the truth, it's giving you possibilities. And then it's up to your human brain to accept it, or accept which one, or accept part of it, or put them all together, or something like that. But AI, we're understanding AI a little bit more, and what I'm understanding is is very different from what I understood a week ago or a month ago or a year ago, and I didn't even know how to spell AI 3 or 4 years ago, right? It's just came onto the scene like this. It jumped onto the stage, and and some people don't want to know anything about it. Some people claim to know everything about it. It's it's another whole world.
Actually, Bill, you just got me thinking from that about truth. And truth is truth is something you buy. Truth is something you spread. It is it's the control mechanism. There is no one singular truth. Truth is what you manufacture. And so the more you manufacture it, the more true it is. I was thinking that, 300-400 years ago, the church and the state manufactured all truth. They created all truth. In the 19th century, truth was taken over by media companies in the 20th century. So they're the great truth manufacturers. And I saw this amazing thing yesterday, how in Europe, NATO is conducting psychological propaganda on Western Europe upon its own people, not on Russians, not on the Chinese, but on NATO member countries, to believe a certain version of what NATO wants us to believe is the truth. And then, of course, that is the truth, because the truth is not what is real. The truth is what you paid for to give to the population so that they believe in something.
It will be very interesting to learn whether what is more dangerous, the invisible things or the visible things? Is it the things which you can touch with your hand? Because in the noon discussion, we came to a very interesting topic. When we have been young ones, we believe what we have seen. But then we realize, especially today, the AI or the tools which are there, the movies are so great, you will say, it must be real, but it's a movie generally. And Tracy, she worked a lot with helping clients with translation, organizing things, and so on. So she was all the time in the background. And she said, until recently, until September, I believe only what I have seen with my eyes. But from September, I have learned about this podcast and just these audio rooms and so on. And I start to work with what I have heard may be the reality, But still, we came to the topic, okay, if you can touch it, it's probably real. Probably. But it was quite interesting part of the discussion, what will happen if we visualize the invisible one? That will be very interesting. You said at the beginning that it was as a child, you would like to see the UFO and go and so on. You would like to see the invisible things. What will happen if we do that?
So we live by the beach. Our grandchildren, three of them, age 8, 6, and 3, live a mile away, so they come over here all the time. We go to the beach. We First time we did that 5 or 6 years ago, we went to the store and we bought buckets and shovels, and we had this big bag of beach stuff, right? They go to the beach. What do? They pick up a stick, they pick up a clamshell, they dig a hole. For hours, the three of them are over this hole, digging and laughing. I said, "Where's that hole going?" To the other side of the world. And they're for hours, and they are envisioning the invisible. They don't need toys. They don't need any of that, because what is all around them is part of their vision. And the other day we were at the beach. They found a big boulder that one of them climbed on, and that became a store. And all the others are buying shells from this older one and exchanging money. They don't know anything about money, right? Oh, they're using a credit card. But they're buying, it's a store. And they've got um, this whole scene, this whole movie going on for hours, for hours. So now there are grown-ups, and I'm just going to say, like the president, right? Who has got this whole video going on in his mind of how he's going to do this, and he's going to, and right? So it's the same with little kids and with grown-up people. If they're, if they let themselves believe in the invisible, and it doesn't have to be truth, because if it's in their video, it's true.
And Bill, I think that our society, all Western society of most of the world, is the materialist world that believes in materialist science. And what that's done is made us only believe in visible things. So the more we understand about physics, the more we understand about chemistry, and only believe in things that we can see, things that can be measured, things that can be proved, has removed us away from invisible worlds, which are much more spiritual, much more fantastic, maybe much more rewarding. And I think we've actually gone too far towards materialist belief, materialist science, and we need to come back to a more invisible world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that goes in with the theory that I've always lived with in this consumer world, and being a salesman for all those years. My quota never went down. Um, the boss never said, "Oh, that would let's get the same amount of profit we did last year." Right? Never, I never heard those words. Right? It was always more, more, more. So that's the world that we have been brought up in, and have contributed to, is more, more, more. But I do see it changing in the attitude of some of my friends, some of the people in the media, and so on, to a world of enough. So I have a roof over my head. I have enough food. I have enough social. I have enough. I don't need to always be striving for more. And the more we do that, and I think the more we go toward things like working from home, or a 4-day work week, or a three-day work week or something, the more opportunity we're going to have to expand our understanding of the world into something other than the consumer, more world, bigger car, bigger house, bigger whatever. I see that moving. I see a lot of people running nonprofits who just want to help the next guy. I see that. When I was younger, I didn't have a one spare second or one iota of energy to do anything besides put food on the table, pay the rent, right? Now that I'm not working 60 and 80 hours a week, I have time to talk to you guys. And how exciting to my brain that is. So I think we're changing. I agree with you that we're a more world, but I see that changing.
You know, but Abel, at the beginning, you mentioned that we human have a quite narrow things what we can see. The animals can see more and different animals and so on. And Kevin, you mentioned that the West European culture, the East European has still are more closer, or I will not call it only the East, but even the Brazil and people living there and so on. But what was interesting, I can see aura. I can see the energy. I look at a person and I can see it must be special conditions, but I can not only feel, but I can see the colors. And generally what is interesting, I am not sure if I can do it still, but I look at a person in a face and this face turned into face of an animal, whatever. And it was the character of the person. And you know what I tried? I tried to look in a mirror to see myself, what I turn into. And it was very interesting. I saw only my face. It was not so hard. You just did not blink. And if you look for a longer time at once, so the eyes get wet and so on, it's somehow disappearing. And it was quite interesting. And it's 30 years ago when I was fascinating that I'm not turning into any animal, that I see the human. And it's so long ago. And today I'm proud on it. It's fascinating. So I think the invisible things, to make it visible, it's not the solution. Maybe the solution will be to make the visible things invisible, But right now I'm not sure about it because we let disappear money. Before you can touch it, you have the coins, you have the banknotes. We discussed it several times. Today you have a card. You cannot see the money anymore. Or you have it in your mobile phone, the app. You cannot see the money. So is really the disappearing of the physical things the advantage? From my perspective, related to money, not. Related to other things, I don't know. So the question is, what is better? To try to make the invisible things visible or the visible things invisible?
Yeah, two things from that, Michael. One is that the invisible world has no boundaries.
That's right.
So that makes it wonderful. And and again, back to Bill's idea of how we were driven by consumerism, there would be no need or demand at all for an invisible car because your neighbors can't see it. How can you impress the neighbors?
That cuts right to the quick. That cuts right to the quick, Kevin.
And it is exactly so. We have a very old fairy tale in a black and white movie here, and other story is a little complicated. It doesn't matter. But a poor guy came in a pub, and there is a very greedy owner, and this poor guy says, "Can I have a piece of meat?" And he told him, "I will serve you meat which the world never seen before." And he served to him empty plate. And the poor guy sit there And he said, wow, what a piece of steak, and starts to eat. You have to see how this other guy, how he was jealous that he is eating the invisible thing. It was so wonderful explained. Exactly as you said it, I saw this movie scene happening in front of my eyes.
Michael, when you were talking about looking in the mirror, reminded me of a post I've seen 100 different versions of it, with an old person looking in the mirror, and here's a child. Right? So which is real? Which is real? Because the old person, look, and this happens to me too. Not that I'm an old person, but the old person feels young inside. So is this face real, or is how they feel inside real? What is real? What is truth? What is real?
That's a great, really great discussion. And all of us, yes, Kevin, you.
I saw this kid's story. I think it was a Chinese story about a guy, a poor guy. He was in a market, and he only had some bread, and so he ate the bread over where a guy was cooking meat, and he was taking the smell and then eating the bread. And so the guy called the police and accused them of stealing the smell. And so he went to court, and then the judge told the poor man to drop some money into a plate. And he said, now you've paid him back with the sound of your money.
Oh, with the sound of I like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about that for years because there's something so interesting about it, because what is real, what is not real? Where is the value?
I think we should really study more these old fairy tales which we thought is just for fun and so on. Even the Japanese fairy tales are very interesting. They are very different to Czech fairy tales. Very, very different. More horror than a fairy tale. But it's fascinating, There is so much in the past which we should remember. And it was handed from generation to generation. And today, you ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT memory is 4 days or 4 minutes. It does not see the very old things. If we do not feed it there, and even if we feed it, they set just one part and turn the other because for whatever reason, nobody knows. But it is so interesting, all these stories. I think someone should put them all together from all around the globe and compare and see. That I would like to see the AI to work on, but I was explained that, it's too expensive to work with AI. You cannot do it. So
If you were to tell that story about the poor man with the bread stealing the aroma from the cooking meat to a chat GPT, that chat GPT would never in a million years say, oh, that's really good. I understand exactly what they're saying, right? Would never say that because AI is not sentient, which is a word I'm trying desperately to figure out what it means. Not human, doesn't react like a human. And that's what we need to teach our children, how to do that more and better, because AI will never replace that.
when I have a webinar or workshop or talk to other person, which we find out for the first time, I frequently ended the call. I said all the time, can you tell me why the person on the other side of the camera look all the time better than me? And exactly this reaction, what you did, shows there is a human on the other side. If there is something saying, oh, it must be your camera or resolution or whatever, I am doubtful. But if you start to laugh, you are human. That's exactly what you described. And I use it for many times, and the reaction was almost every time, not every time, but almost every time the same. Smile, laugh, fun. And that we must keep in our life, We are put under the pressure of invisible fear, COVID, wars, aliens coming from whatever, DJs playing the wrong music, and so on. We must take back the fun. We must realize the emotions. The emotions, among others, they are invisible until the moment when you start to smile. Love is invisible. And still, we say we understand what love is, but it is invisible.
I would dare anybody to explain what love is. I remember when I asked my first wife to marry me, and I said, it's love. I put that label on it. But in the back of my brain, I was checking boxes. She's this, she's this, she's this, she's this. Must be love. Young people, when I was young, let me change that. When I was young, I did some really stupid things, right? And yet, how do you teach a young person what love is? And somebody said to me when I asked Galina to marry me, why? What's different? What's different now? And my sister said, does she check all the boxes? And I thought about that. And the only answer I came up with was magic. I cannot explain this. I cannot explain this, but I want this more than anything else in the world. It's not boxes. We're not checking boxes this time.
And I think this is the key, You have this invisible infinity, and you feel she is part of the infinity, and you have been part of her infinity, and you don't fear. And that was great. But we have only 1 minute left. once again. But it was great, I am happy that we don't see the time, that is floating. Because otherwise we have been pushed and we will speak more faster and we will try to put no. We don't know. And that's great. Because this is this invisible perfection of imperfection. What will happen? We say it next time. So have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and enjoy the invisible beauty of the life. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.